Coming up next on BG24 News.
A BGSU alum is making his name in state politics. We'll talk with State Representative Tim Brown about his first bill.
A university class found itself extremely close to one of the biggest world news stories of the year. We'll tell you where they were and what happened.
And police are working to ensure that bars are following the rules for St. Patrick's Day. Find out how they're assisting bar owners.
Plus, a look at your Black Swamp weather forecast and BG24 sports. Welcome to your campus and community connection.
Wood County's live local news starts right now. This is BG24 News, live at 5:30.
Hello everyone, I'm Christina Hepner.
And I'm Parminder Bunga. Thank you for joining us tonight. One of the biggest party days of the year happens this weekend.
Hundreds of college students are gearing up to go bar crawling for St. Patrick's Day. Local police are helping bar owners and bartenders prepare for the green beer holiday. Bowling Green police worked with bar workers last night to ensure they are prepared. A BGPD detective reminded workers to check IDs and refrain from serving over-intoxicated drinkers. There are 58 establishments with liquor license in Bowling Green. Bowling Green police will be patrolling the area to make sure everyone is safe and following the law.
The death of a Venezuelan leader captivated millions last week. Many people in Latin and South America saw the late Hugo Chavez as a hero. More than a dozen BGSU students were in the capital of Cuba when Chavez died. Reporter Lucas Stahl joins me live with more about their trip and Cuba's reaction. Lucas?
Thanks, Parminder. Professor Pedro Porban in his introduction to Cuba class visited the Caribbean for spring break. They say the biggest thing they learned about Cuba is that the country's story is a complicated one. Students in Professor Pedro Porban's class reflected on their trip to Cuba last week and what it was like to be in this vibrant Caribbean culture.
I enjoyed my time in Spain a ton, but it was such like a different world compared to that, even though they're both Spanish-speaking countries. And I really enjoyed it because we have so much propaganda about Cuba and like their lifestyle and how they choose to govern it and whatever. But seeing it first person, like it really changed my views, I guess, on their way of life, their way of government and stuff like that, in a way that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't see it for myself.
Even though I was American, like people didn't really treat me differently, like if I told them where I was from, whereas like a few times in Europe I had people that were kind of stuck up and were just like, oh, okay, and then like a lot of people here in the US sometimes can be like rude and kind of like standoffish, but I thought everyone was very friendly. Like from the moment that I met them, they were all really friendly.
While students were in the country, a beloved icon, Hugo Chavez, passed away after recently recovering in Havana. Students and Pedro were able to visually see the Cubans' reactions.
Hugo was basically like a son for Cubans, so like it was. I knew it was gonna be hard, but I didn't know it was gonna be hit them that hard. Like the ladies we stayed with, like they almost cried. So like it was like they took it hard.
We were talking about before about Chavez dead and how we experienced that in Cuba. Even for me, being Cuban, being born and raised in Cuba, I had never experienced a country stopping or standing by for a day just in order to mourn someone else, a foreigner president.
Students say this was a once-in-a-lifetime trip, considering American citizens are not permitted in the country. But this trip also helped alleviate a lot of previous stereotypes Americans had towards Cubans.
I just gained kind of more of a Cuba's perspective on things. Like being in the States, we tend to get one perspective of Cuba, like that it's communist and that its government is bad. And I think there's definitely exaggerations coming from both sides.
Having my students in Cuba allowed me to actually look into my own experience with Cuba, with the Cuban reality from a different perspective.
This is the first time in BGSU's history that students have traveled to Cuba.
You know, this is actually really interesting. As you mentioned earlier, American citizens are not allowed into Cuba. So would you mind explaining how were these students able to get into the country?
It was actually a very long process. Originally, Pedro had to go to Cuba and get special permission from the University of Havana. Once he was able to do that, he was able to come back to the States, file for visas for the student, and get all the official documentation and paperwork. Once that had been filed, they were able to get permission from the U.S. government, the Cuban embassy in Washington, D.C. They were able to communicate with the Cuban government, and as long as it was for educational purposes, they were able to go and visit the country.
Wow, definitely a long process.
It really was, but they really enjoyed it.
That's good, that's good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you have any any questions or would like to attend a future Cuban excursion, email Pedro Porben at porbenp@bgsu.edu.
It's pretty sunny today, but the cold doesn't seem to be letting up. So let's check in with Dale Summers to see if the sun will somehow warm things up this weekend. Dale?
Thank you, Christina. Current temperatures are in the low 40 degrees. However, even though we are experiencing some sun after the snow and rain from the past few days, it only feels like it's in the mid 30 degrees. Winds are coming in from the west at 12 miles per hour. Stay tuned later to find out if the weather will be sunny or rainy for St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Thanks, Dale. Coming up next.
Arguably the best breadsticks in town have gone international. Find out how Pollyeyes is making it happen.
And white smoke meant history was made yesterday in the Catholic Church. We'll talk with the campus minister from St. Thomas More about the new pope. Stay with us. Peter from St. More joins us now. How are you doing, Peter?
I'm doing very well.
I want to talk to you about, what does Jesuit really mean?
That's a great question. Well, it's a religious order within the Catholic Church. It's the largest religious order. So it's priests who dedicate their life to serve Christ in 3 vows: poverty, chastity, and obedience. And our new pope is a Jesuit.
Okay, I want to ask you, what was your first initial reaction on hearing Pope Benedict XVI's resignation? I mean, he was the first pope to resign in 600 years, so what was your initial reaction?
Initially, I was surprised. John Paul II continued his pontificate all the way up until the day that he died. So this is something very rare, but I really thought it was an act of courage to say, you know what, I'm a little old now, I need to step away so that a new person can come in and do the job correctly.
Okay, the title of the Pope is definitely a great deal. It's a big thing. And for many people who aren't familiar with the Catholic faith, would you mind explaining why Pope Francis is going to be an important person for millions of Catholics around the world?
Sure. Well, it's so exciting for us. For 2,000 years, we can trace our lineage back to Jesus Christ when he elected the first pope. He said to Peter in Matthew 16:18, "Peter, upon this rock I will build my church." So for 2,000 years, we've had an unbroken line of leaders pointing us back to Jesus Christ. So that now Pope Francis is a leader of 1.2 billion Catholics around the world who teaches us faith and morals and help us to live this life to its fullest.
Okay. What does picking a new pope mean for your church as well as the Catholic faith?
It means that a new direction will be set. Now, there's a lot of issues that the Catholic Church won't change on, but let me just give you one example. Pope Francis, for example, although he was offered to live in a nice hotel in Buenos Aires, where he's from, he chose to live in a small apartment, cook his own meals, and he took the bus to work. So this is a man who's committed to social justice and focusing on the poor. So for us Catholics now, it's a time to refocus and recognize that we're one with the poor, and we're one traveling all the way to heaven with them.
Okay. Is St. Thomas More holding any celebrations for the new pope?
Well, no celebrations, no. We got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of students on campus who don't know that God loves them. So every day we're out on campus trying to let God's love be known to them.
Okay. I think what surprised people the most, and I was definitely surprised, is how quickly the Cardinals chose a new pope. Would you mind explaining the process of picking a pope?
Sure, absolutely. So back in the 13th century, it was taking the Cardinals a while to pick a pope. So the townspeople literally locked them into a room. So that's why it's called the conclave. It means with key. They say they locked them in the room until they came up with an answer. And so that tradition has continued throughout the centuries. And so 2/3 majority of the 115 cardinals is responsible for selecting the new pope. And they did it very quickly, which means I think the Holy Spirit was at work and really wanted Pope Francis to be our leader.
All right. Every pope takes on the name of a saint. So what is the significance of Pope Francis? What is the significance of that name?
Yeah, it's a great question. So St. Francis of Assisi was a great preacher who lived in Italy back in the 13th, 14th century. And his focus, again, was also on the poor. He wore very simple clothes all his life. He renounced his life of wealth. And he wanted to really, as Christ did, live among the poor. And so for us, again, it's another call to go into the poverty of our own hearts and recognize that we too want to follow Christ just as he lived.
All right, and I want to get your reaction on, what was your initial reaction when you heard the new pope when they named the new pope? What were you feeling at that moment?
Well, first I jumped up in excitement. I mean, when you see that white smoke coming out, whether you're Catholic or not, it's an exciting moment. It only happens two or three times in someone's lifetime. And if Jesus Christ is real, and if this is his church, then this changes history.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
When we come back, Christina Hepner will talk with State Representative Tim Brown about his first bill. Stay with us.
During the election season, Commissioner Brown visited BG24 Politics for a political debate. Tim Brown ran against Grounds for Thought owner Kelly Wicks for state representative. He came out victorious in the November 6th election by securing about 52% of the vote. Joining me now to talk about his plans on the state level is Tim Brown. Hi, Tim. Thank you for joining us
Absolutely.
today.
Thanks for having me.
So what I'm going to start with asking you is, what does it actually mean to be a state representative?
Well, it's an opportunity to serve the people in their house. We make laws that govern the entire state of Ohio, and it's an incredible honor to be part of the process.
Okay, and what is it like, what is your reaction when you became state representative? How did you feel about that?
Well, it's a challenge. You know, this state has, just like the country, challenges in getting our economy turned around. A lot of work ahead of us in figuring out what's been working, what hasn't. You know, when I tell people at one time Ohio was the 7th largest economy in the world, they're pretty shocked by that because we're nowhere on that list or ranking today. So I think we've been successful in the past, and we need to find a way to get back to those things that made Ohio a great state to work and live in.
And you've just done your first bill, and that's House Bill 2. Can you tell us what that is and what you've been doing with that?
Sure. House Bill 2 is an effort to try to help people who are unemployed to find work more quickly. The first thing it does is require that when you become unemployed and want unemployment insurance is that you register with Ohio Means Jobs. And an Ohio Means Jobs offices will be located in all of Ohio's 88 counties, easily accessible, and they're there to help people dust off the resume, clean it up a little bit, explore job training opportunities that may be available to help them find a job. So the goal here is to, one, put them in touch with the agency that can help them, and two, the state has ramped up its commitment and will send an email to any unemployed person in Ohio with 5 job postings relevant to their resume, their background, and work experience. So the partnership is on both sides, getting that person in the office and getting the state to ramp up its commitment to help.
And what does that mean for Wood County locally?
Well, our unemployment rate has been consistently one of the lower out of Northwest Ohio, but my philosophy has always been that if there's one person looking for a job that can't find one, then our work isn't done. It means that we're going to ramp up the state's commitment to helping them find employment.
Okay. And you are a BGSU alum.
I am.
And you've had so many huge achievements. What can you tell students about taking on and making their career as big as you've made yours?
Sure. Well, just in this room, you have people in here that are dedicating their time to learning and growing their experience and building a resume. I did the same thing as a student here, got involved in many organizations, and just wanted to learn as much as I possibly could. But those interactions with your peers are very helpful.
Yeah. Well, Tim, thank you so much for being with us today. And your Black Swamp weather forecast with Dale Summers is coming up after this short break.
Now, Wood County's live local forecast with BG24 Black Swamp weather.
I am Dale Summers here with your Black Swamp weather forecast. Current temperatures are in the low 40 degrees, and even though we are seeing some sun compared to the past rain and snow from the few days before this, it only feels like it is about in the mid-30s. Winds are coming in from the west at 12 miles per hour. Tonight, temperatures will be dropping about 10 degrees to be in the high 20s. It will be partly cloudy, and the winds will have slowed down a little bit, coming in from the southwest at 8 miles per hour. Even though humidity is at a higher 65%, the chance of precipitation is only 10%, so you don't have to worry about seeing any rain for tonight. Tomorrow, temperatures will be at the mid-40 degrees. However, we will be seeing some showers. They will be starting in the afternoon, and they will continue all throughout the night. Sunrise is at 7:46, so make sure you're up bright and early to be able to see the sun if you want to. Winds are coming in from the west-southwest at 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow night, temperatures will drop to the low 30s, and as I said, the rain and snow will be continuing all throughout the night. Winds are coming in from the northeast at 11 miles per hour, and humidity is at a high 79%. Temperatures throughout the northwestern region of Ohio are relatively stable, ranging between the low 40 degrees, so there's not a lot of variation going on there. 40 degrees is relatively warm for this time of the year, so be thankful it's not super cold for St. Patrick's Day weekend. Wind speed is also actually relatively stable, coming in from the west at 10 miles per hour. Normally Bowling Green is called Blowing Green as a joke. Tonight, that's not the case. There is no rain in Bowling Green. However, we can see that they are experiencing some light rainfall up in Washington, excuse me. There's also some light rainfall and light snow happening in Indiana and Illinois. Also from New York up into Maine, they're experiencing some light snowfall and a mixture of rain and snow. Looking at the weather for the next 5 days, we can see that it will start raining Friday night, and that will continue on through Saturday up and through the morning. Temperatures will be in the mid-40s on Friday, and they'll taper down to the mid-30s on Saturday. Sunday, the rain will stop, and it will be cloudy, and temperatures will have risen again up to the high 30s. And then Monday, the rain will be back, and then Tuesday, we'll finally get to see some sun. So St. Patrick's Day doesn't look like it'll be looking too bright.
Running a little late this morning, but as soon as I stepped outside, the weather it lifted my mood up. I was like, sun! Definitely, it's looking forward to it.
In community news tonight, the speed limits on some local highways could increase this year. Ohio senators voted yes on proposal to increase the speed limit from 65 to 70 miles per hour. But drivers can't speed up just yet. The Ohio House has to approve the proposal before it can become law. The bill also endorsed a $1.5 billion Ohio Turnpike bond sale. The sales would help raise money for highway and bridge projects.
Off-campus students felt a little extra love on campus this week. BGSU Dining Services gave free meal vouchers to commuter students who liked dining services on Facebook. Those students got to eat for free at the Oaks or Carillon Place. But Dining Services says they're always working to bring in commuting students.
We tried to find a week that we could get in touch with our commuters that we have on campus and allow them a way to get into some of our dining locations and see what we have to offer. Another objective of the Commuter Appreciation Week is to draw attention to the meal plans that we offer for commuters. We have a number of different options. This year, they're block plans. We have a block 25, a block 50, and a block 75. And basically those are meals that they can use at the all-you-care-to-eat facilities. The pricing is structured so that they can save a little bit off the door price, and obviously, as a student, any little bit counts, so we try to structure those to help them.
They're also working to extend hours across campus. To all you late-nighters out there, they announced last week that Outtakes at Carillon Place is now open until 10 p.m.
Campus Pollyeyes is known for their world-famous breadsticks, and they're not joking when they say world-famous. Reporter Jacqueline Gideon explains why.
Customers around the world order Campus Pollyeyes breadsticks. Pollyeyes sends breadsticks to Texas, Florida, and overseas to Austria. It costs more than $100 to mail the breadsticks, but manager Dean Smith says they make little profit from sending them.
It's more of a service. It's a nice thing to do. It's not often it happens, but when it does, we try to do the best job we can.
Employees cook the breadsticks halfway, freeze them overnight, and wrap them in foil. Campus Pollyeyes mails breadsticks overnight to customers. After customers get the breadsticks, they bake them for about 20 minutes. Founder George Nicholson says his employees would try new food ideas when business was slow. Employees began rolling pizza toppings in dough, and that's how the breadsticks were made. The customers who order the breadsticks are generally BGSU alumni.
For that person, it probably made their day, and that's probably why we do it, you know what I mean? Yeah, this is a little bit of Bowling Green in Tucson, Arizona, or San Francisco, California, wherever it would be, okay? And that's probably the best part of it.
Smith says he likes sending the breadsticks to touch base with the customers. Reporting for BG24 News, I'm Jacqueline Gideon.
Customers can choose to stuff breadsticks with meats, cheeses, and other pizza toppings.
Most students attend college for one reason: to get a job. Employers were on campus yesterday to help students do just that. Reporter Gemma Schultz spoke with students at the 2013 Summer Job Fair.
BGSU hosted a summer job fair earlier this week in the Student Union Ballroom. Students had the opportunity to meet with many recruiters eager to hire them for part-time and seasonal job positions. The job fair featured many companies from Ohio and the surrounding region. Employers like Kalahari Resort, FedEx Ground, and African Safari Wildlife Park, among others, were in attendance, giving students a large selection of opportunities.
As a student, I need a summer employment, especially if I'm taking classes here this summer, so it's a great opportunity for me to see who's in the community and who's looking for jobs for the summer.
The career fairs, all of them, offer the opportunity to get a face-to-face meeting with the person, get your foot in the door, and actually put a face to your resume.
Students were encouraged to bring along a resume and cover letter and were able to interview with multiple organizations. For BG24 News, I'm Gemma Schultz.
Thank you so much, Gemma. On April 11th, students and alum interested in education can attend the Teacher Job Fair. It will be at the Perry Field House. The fair will host recruiters from school districts across the country. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/BG24News for more information.
And now, sportscaster Jacqueline Elliott joins us for a look at BG24 Sports. Jacqueline?
Women's basketball competed in round 3 of the MAC tournament today. Also, men's basketball coach Louis Orr's contract was extended. We'll give you all of the details on that and more. Stay with us.
It's unFalcon believable coverage that you won't get anywhere else. This is BG24 Sports.
Welcome back to BG24 Sports. I'm Jacqueline Elliott. The BGSU women's basketball team took on Central Michigan today in the 3rd round of the MAC tournament in Cleveland. CMU was seated 4th as the Falcons were sitting in the 5th position. BG defeated the Chippewas early in the season but couldn't follow suit today. The Falcons grabbed an early 7-5 lead, but that would be the only time BG was on top as they lost 81-48. Alexis Rogers led the Falcons with 14 points, and BG finishes off the season with an overall record of 22-10 and a MAC record of 11-5. And we have breaking news. We've learned that men's basketball coach Louis Orr will be returning for the 2013-2014 season. Under Orr this past season, the Falcons finished off with a record of 13-19, and this is Orr's 7th season as coach for BG, where he was has an 89-101 record. Over to ice hockey. The Falcons are still alive. BG will head to Notre Dame this weekend for a best-of-3 series with the Fighting Irish. Last weekend, the Falcons took down Lake Superior State after a 2-1 series with the Lakers. The winner will advance to the 3rd round of the CCHA tournament. The Falcons are currently 1-3 against Notre Dame this season, and their first playoff game with the Irish will be at 7:30 tomorrow. Two Falcon hockey players were named to the All-CCHA team. Senior defenseman Bobby Shea was named All-CCHA second team. Shea led all Falcon defensemen with 15 assists and a +14 on ice rating. Also, sophomore forward Ryan Carpenter was named to the second team. Carpenter led BG in scoring with 12 goals and 21 points. Congrats, guys. The BGSU football team held its annual Pro Day session on Tuesday, welcoming 32 scouts from several NFL teams. Participating in the events were Chris Jones, Jordan Russo, John Pettigrew, Dwayne Woods, and Dyrell Briggs. In other BG football news, the team had its first practice of the spring yesterday and will be the first of 15 practices leading up to the spring game, which will be held April 12th. That's all for BG24 Sports. I'm Jacqueline Elliott, and we'll be right back.
And now Dale's back for a last look at weather. Dale?
Thank you, Parminder. For Friday, temperatures will be in the mid-40 degrees. However, it will be starting to rain in the evening, and it will continue to rain up until Saturday. Saturday, it will turn into rain and snow in the morning, and they'll stop by the mid-afternoon. Temperatures will go down to the mid-30s, and Sunday, the snow/rain will finally go away, giving us some sun, even though it will be mostly cloudy. Temperatures will be in the high 30 degrees, and then Monday, sadly, we'll see the rain come back again with temperatures luckily being in the mid-40s, so that's warmer than Saturday and Sunday, so that's a nice change. Tuesday will be partly cloudy, so we'll see some sun again, and temperatures will sadly drop down again to the low 30 degrees. So, not a good week for the next 5 days, and unfortunately, St. Patrick's Day will be rainy.
The weather looks a little chilly for people going out on St. Patty's Day. I'm not looking forward to that. So.
I am ready for spring to start.
Oh, definitely.
I need the warm weather.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
Oh, well, for Parminder Banga, Dale Summers, and Jacqueline Elliott, I'm Christina Hepner. Thanks for watching.
And if you have any comments or story ideas, check out our BG24 News website at bg24news.org.
Have a safe weekend, everyone.